Good morning. I'm Eric L. Dunavant, the Mindset Disruption Strategist. Welcome to Kingdom Odyssey, where I help business owners and families redefine success to create generational prosperity and make a kingdom impact. And the way that I do that is by asking and challenging you with this question. How do you know that the things that you're building, the things that you're creating, won't damage your marriage, your children, or your grandchildren? Or as we look at it today, how do you know that what if the things that you're building and creating could bless your marriage, your children, and your grandchildren? How could you do it differently? And so today's question is this: what is the great wealth transfer? And what's the opportunity that we're all missing? So if you look at the news and you look at the statistics and you've seen this, maybe you have, over the next 25 years, as much as $68 trillion is going to change hands from one generation to the next. 68 trillion in the next 25 years. That is an incredible shift that's happening over the next few years. But I've taken the time to dig into it and look into it closer. And here's what I found. The majority of that transfer is taking place after mom and dad pass away, after they're gone, right? They're holding on to their wealth and their accumulation until the minute that they pass away, and then the great wealth transfer happens. Well, what if? What if something else was possible? And that's the question that I constantly challenge people with and want to ask them is, what if you could create a kingdom blueprint that showed you that it was possible for you to be just fine, do everything that you've wanted in your life, but also make an impact on your children and your grandchildren and the kingdom while you're alive? And this is the opportunity that everyone's missing right now. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. So a few years ago, I was introduced to a couple who was up in Minnesota, and they had incredible hearts for the kingdom. They had incredible hearts for generosity and to be giving, and they were living lives that was taking care of themselves. They also had 4 children that were adults that needed some help, but they were kind of reluctant. It's like, I don't know what we need to be doing and how to help them and what would be best. And we sat down with them and we just had a conversation. And we started with, which is the most important part, what do you guys need for yourselves? What do you need to take care of you? And we figured that all out. What do you dream about? What do you want to do? And no limitations. We just asked them that question. And then we started helping them dream. Tell us more about the kids. Tell us what we needed. And we introduced an idea. It's like, well, what if we could help them right now? What if there are some strategies or some things that we could do that would allow them for you to help them with a lifetime income? Or what if there was just some little things that they needed right now that you could make some gifts right now? What would that do for their lives? And they were like, oh, well, it would change this, it would allow them to, be able to do greater things. It would free them up. It would take away anxiety. It would take away pressure. And we're like, well, do you want that for them? And yeah, that's exactly what we want for them. But it was the first time anyone had ever asked them the question about doing this during their lifetime, rather than because they had plans that set up that were going to do everything after they passed away. But no one had ever sat down and asked them the question about what would happen during their lifetime. The other thing that happened, again, I told you they were incredibly generous, is we started showing them without changing anything about what they were doing in their lifestyle, about anything what they were doing for their kids. And they were actually able to do even more for their kids than they ever imagined. And then we went and looked at the giving. It's like, well, yeah, you guys can give more money away. And they were like, what? It was like, yeah. And so we showed them inside of their kingdom blueprint that they could actually triple the amount of money that they were giving. And they became so excited. And that's really kind of the question is, as we look at the $68 trillion transfer, what could it be doing today? Instead of waiting over the next 25 years, what about today? What could it be doing for your family? What if inside of that $68 trillion transfer that you are a part of, you've got a piece of that? What if you know you're going to be okay and you could bless your children financially or your grandchildren? You want to know their maturity, right? That's a discussion for another time. But if you know that they're mature people who would handle that well, how might it change some of the relationship conversations you have? Because you could help them. You could ease up some of their burden. When is the greatest need that someone has? The greatest need is typically when we're raising kids. All these inheritances are going to go to people when they're in their 70s. They don't need money then. They've already built their own life. And that's what this is being missed here. What could happen for relationships to have conversations about how to steward this kind of wealth? How could you better prepare them by showing them the responsibility of generational prosperity? What is the number one thing for the kingdom that you just have been called to do, that you feel passionate to do? And maybe your whole family could rally around that thing, and y'all could begin to make a difference in that today, right? Don't miss this opportunity. Don't sit around and ask, what if? The real question is, how could you take advantage of this transfer that's going to happen and be a part of it and say, you know what, I'm not waiting. I'm beginning right now, because what I know is I want to create generational prosperity. I want to create kingdom impact. And that begins in the things that I do today. And this is what a kingdom mindset, this is why we go on a kingdom odyssey, because a kingdom mindset takes a step back and says, how can I do this better? How can I think about this differently? And how can I transform things for today, for tomorrow, and for eternity? Thank you for being with me. God bless you. Have a great day.